They stepped onto the stage with trembling hands, their violins pressed close to their chests, as if holding on to the last bit of courage they had left. Two Filipino sisters, barely teenagers, staring at the brightest lights they had ever seen. Simon Cowell watched them closely, his eyebrows raised with curiosity that was half interest, half quiet challenge. The audience didn't know who they were. No one expected anything unusual. Yet within the next few minutes, these two young prodigies would deliver a performance so emotional, so fierce, and so soul-shaking that silence would fall like snow across the entire arena. Their rendition of Vivaldi's Winter would not only stun Simon Cowell, it would change the course of their lives forever. Before we begin, if you're new here, welcome to a place where extraordinary moments, emotional performances, and life-changing stories come to life. Make sure to subscribe for more heart-touching stories every day. Now let's dive into what truly happened that night. They walked out in simple white dresses, nothing fancy, nothing sparkly. Just two sisters, holding hands tightly, each one pushing strength into the other. The younger one, only 12, kept glancing nervously at the floor, while the older sister, 14, tried her best to smile, though her voice wavered when she introduced them. They had practiced that introduction at least 50 times the night before. But standing there in front of thousands of people, cameras aimed at them like giant unblinking eyes, everything they had rehearsed melted away from their memories. Simon noticed the tremble. He leaned forward slightly. He had seen thousands of contestants try to hide their nerves, but something about these two made him soften. They reminded him of real musicians, the kind who carried emotion in their fingertips instead of their words. When asked what they would be performing, the older sister said softly, almost whispering, "Vivaldi's Winter." A few audience members nodded with appreciation. Some smiled politely. Others wondered if such young musicians could handle a piece that demanded both precision and emotional depth. A classical piece was always a risk on this stage. People wanted fireworks, tricks, powerful vocals. A violin duet could easily get drowned in expectations. But these girls had something no one knew yet. Their story began years earlier in a small town in the Philippines. Their father, a humble tricycle driver, always dreamed of becoming a musician but never had the chance. Life was survival, not art. But he carried music in his blood and passed it to his daughters. Even when he barely earned enough to buy rice for dinner, he saved every coin he could, little by little, until one day he came home pushing his tricycle with a small, scratched violin tied to the back. The girls still remember how he walked into the house with tears in his eyes, saying it wasn't much, but it was enough to start a dream. They took turns practicing on that single violin for 2 years before someone donated another one. Their father sat outside every night listening, his head against the tricycle seat, letting their music wash away the exhaustion of work. But last year, everything changed. Their father became sick. It happened slowly at first, a cough here, a weakness there, but it grew worse. Hospital bills piled up. He could barely work. The girls began playing in local markets, birthday parties, even at bus stations just to help buy medicine. Their violins became their voice of survival. Every coin dropped into their small donation box was a breath of hope. Every time someone appreciated their playing, it gave them strength to keep going. When an opportunity came for them to audition for the biggest stage of their lives, friends pooled money together to send them. Their mother sold homemade snacks day and night to cover travel costs. The girls carried with them a purpose far greater than fame or applause. They wanted to play for the father who had believed in them. They wanted to show him that the sacrifices he made had meaning. They wanted the world to hear the music he planted in them. And now, here they were, on the AGT stage, standing under the brightest lights they had ever seen. The older sister lifted her violin first, her bow trembling but steadying as she inhaled deeply. The younger sister followed, her hands shaking so much she almost missed the chin rest. But when their eyes met, everything calmed. They nodded at each other. Years of practicing in cramped rooms, in noisy markets, in humid nights under a flickering bulb, rushed back into their bodies. Their breathing matched, their minds aligned. They closed their eyes, and then, the first note hit. It wasn't soft, it wasn't tentative, it burst out like a winter storm crashing against a silent village. The entire arena froze. Even Simon lowered his pen slowly, almost involuntarily, as if pulled by the power of that opening stroke. Their bows moved like lightning across the strings. Vivaldi's Winter wasn't just played, it was unleashed. The older sister took the lead with fierce precision, her notes sharp and icy, slicing through the air with breathtaking clarity. The younger sister answered with a softer, trembling vibrato that felt like snow beginning to fall. The contrast between their styles created a perfect storm of emotion. People in the audience began leaning forward, eyebrows raised, mouths slowly opening. No one expected something like this. The energy built quickly. Their fingers danced across the fingerboards with speed that seemed impossible for such young musicians. But the true magic wasn't technical brilliance. It was emotion. Every note carried years of struggle, nights of practicing until their fingers hurt, moments of fear, hope, and love. Every movement of their bows felt like a message, a plea, a memory. The audience wasn't just listening to music. They were witnessing two hearts speaking a language deeper than words. In the middle section, when Winter slows into a haunting melody, the younger sister took the spotlight. Her bow glided softly, trembling slightly, giving the sound an almost fragile sensation. The room fell into complete silence. The kind of silence that only appears when something extraordinary is happening. Even the judges stopped breathing for a moment. There was something in her playing that felt like longing, like calling out to someone far away. Simon's face changed. His usual sharp, evaluating expression softened. He looked moved. He watched the younger sister as if seeing a story unfold through her music. He whispered something to the judge next to him, but his eyes never left the girls. Then came the final section. The storm returned. The older sister lifted her bow with fiery intensity, leading the charge into the piece's most dramatic climax. The younger sister followed in perfect synchronization. Their bows struck the strings with force and passion, creating a whirlwind of sound that shook the room. Audience members began cheering mid-performance. Some stood up before the final note. Cameras zoomed in on Simon, whose eyes widened in disbelief. He leaned back, shook his head in amazement, and whispered, "Wow." The last note came not as an explosion but as a whisper. A single, soft, fading sound that drifted across the arena like the final snowflake of a storm. When their bows stopped moving, the girls lowered their violins together. Their chests rose and fell rapidly, hearts racing, eyes still closed. And then the entire arena erupted. The audience stood in a thunderous ovation. Some were wiping tears, others shouted bravo at the top of their lungs. The sisters opened their eyes, stunned. They had never heard applause like this. They looked at each other, and the younger sister began to cry, covering her mouth with her hand as her shoulders shook. Simon stood up slowly. The audience roared even louder when they saw him rise to his feet. He clapped deeply, nodding, his expression full of respect that he rarely showed on stage. When he finally spoke, his voice was softer than usual. "What you two just did was breathtaking. Absolutely breathtaking. I have seen many violinists on this stage, but very few play with the kind of emotion you just showed. That wasn't just talent, that was something from the heart." The girls were crying now, their small shoulders trembling. The older sister tried to thank the judges but her voice broke halfway through. The audience encouraged them with applause. Another judge leaned forward and said, "You didn't just play Vivaldi. You made us feel Vivaldi. I felt the storm, the snow, the chill, everything. You both are extraordinary." Then Simon said something that stunned everyone. "I want to know your story. Who taught you to play like this?" The older sister wiped her tears and began to speak. Their father taught them. Their father who was watching from the hospital. Their father who used to fall asleep outside listening to their music. Their father who sacrificed everything so they could hold those violins in their hands. The room grew silent again, not from performance this time, but from emotion. Simon's eyes softened more. "I hope he's watching, because he must be incredibly proud of you." Then, with a small smile, he looked at the audience, then back at the girls. "You know what, I don't want this moment to end." And he reached forward. The audience gasped. Simon pressed the golden buzzer. Gold confetti exploded from every side of the stage, swirling around the sisters like a shimmering blizzard. The girls collapsed into each other's arms, crying uncontrollably as the confetti fell on them like a storm of blessings. Their mother rushed onto the stage, embracing them tightly, shaking with tears and gratitude. Simon walked up to them on stage, something he rarely does. He bent down slightly so he could look them both in the eyes. "Your father is going to be so proud when he sees this. You just created one of the most beautiful moments we've had on this show." The girls nodded through tears. Their mother kept whispering thank you again and again, her voice breaking with emotion. Backstage, the girls held their golden buzzer trophy while speaking to the camera. The younger sister said through sobs, "Papa, this is for you. We did it. We hope you get well soon. We love you." Their mother added that this moment wasn't just for their family, but for every Filipino child who dreamed of something bigger, something brighter, even when life felt heavy. Their performance went viral across social media within hours. People from around the world praised their emotional depth, calling them the Filipino Prodigy sisters. Even classical musicians reacted, amazed at the passion in their playing. Their father, watching from his hospital bed, cried quietly, whispering prayers of gratitude. Their story became a symbol of hope, a reminder that talent can come from anywhere, a reminder that even the simplest homes can raise the brightest stars, a reminder that music is not measured by age, wealth, or background, but by emotion. And it all began with a small, scratched violin tied to the back of a tricycle. Their journey had just begun.